Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another night of with Minnesota Liberty. My name is TJ, and with me is Joey Gamache.
Hello, hello.
And how's everyone doing? Um, so tonight we wanted to chat a little bit about free speech, and I think we could actually probably chat a lot about this and all the different angles and different nuances that someone can say, yeah, well, it's a free company, and but whatever you can say, can you say stuff without consequence? Things like that. Um, so the biggest one that has recently come out, right? Well, obviously Charlie Kirk was silenced, so he has no more free speech. But the folks, at ABC or Disney decided that what Jimmy Kimmel said, or somebody decided, who knows? I guess I don't really know the whole story, Joey. Do you, like how it really went down? Because all I saw was Jimmy Kimmel Live suspended indefinitely, and then there was because of this, and it seemed pretty tame.
Yeah, I don't know the timeline. I have an understanding of the timeline, but I don't know the timeline. This is all secondhand. My
Yeah,
understanding secondhand is Kimmel made statements that were crop dusting, saying things that were demonstrably false. He didn't actually, by my understanding, he didn't actually say things that were demonstrably false, but he left the audience with the impression that those things were true based on the words that he said.
isn't that every night? Every
Yeah,
night they do this. This is what Malice
uh-huh.
talks about. Honest but not factual or whatever. I wish I
Yeah, and
remember what.
factual but not truthful. That's
Yeah,
Malice's phraseology, and I
yeah,
think that it's perfectly fair to level that accusation against Kimmel. But the interesting thing that I heard that I don't actually know if this is the case, and I probably should have looked this up before the show, to be honest, is there are claims that Kimmel refused to apologize. There are claims that the local affiliates threatened not to air his show again unless he apologized. And then there were social media statements from Brendan Carr, head of the Federal Communications Commission, saying, and I quote, "We can
yeah.
do this the easy way or the hard way," which
Yeah,
is
is that not
just,
mobster or what?
that is fantastically mustache twirlingly evil.
Oh my gosh. Uh, and they give all the lefties or anybody who wants to hate them all the ammo to be
Yep.
like,
Just make a
see,
caricature of himself.
see,
A
yeah,
complete unforced error. My estimation is that if the claims that Kimmel refused to apologize are true, and the claims that local affiliates threatened not to re-air the show unless it contained an apology were true, then I think Kimmel's show would have been canned anyway.
yeah. Well, that's what it really seems like. And, you can zoom in and out of any graph and see when things dip and go up or down. And I guess I never really looked at it, but from what I've heard, the ratings on that show have been tanking and nobody really watches it anyways, right? And it
Well,
goes,
it's true with all late night talk shows,
sure.
because who's going to tune in starting at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or whatever? I don't even
Yeah,
know what time it
it's
airs.
11
The,
on the East Coast, right?
the point is, who is going to go out of their way to watch that at that time of night? Because that's what the ratings are based off of, is based off of live views. And sure, I'm sure there's some like way that they factor in later streamings of it. I it's not up to me to figure out how that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure
The
they get
the
some
point
kind of
is,
revenue.
I am not convinced that his show was popular enough to be commercially viable unless there were no other options for that time slot.
Same. Same.
And
And
it's not because of him, it's because he is not unique. It's
it's
specifically because he's not unique that it
it's
wouldn't be worth.
well, and it's kind of gone, backfired now because now he's back on the air, and it's like the going out of business, got to sell everything, and then or just the word of, hey, this local restaurant's going out of business. Oh man, no way, and nobody's going to that. Shame on you. It's like, but you're not effing going to it either. I mean, it's failing for a reason, I guess, and it is what it is. Like now, all these, I'm going to cancel my Disney because you. I guess if it was the FCC and it was bullying by the federal government and it was, the government, although you can even go to another level, like these effing networks are all government controlled always anyways. And so I don't know. That's just another avenue to start talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go from there if that's the case? But it just does seem like in Jimmy Kimmel's case and Stephen Colbert's case, those shows were failing and they were not getting the ratings that they needed to supply the millions of dollars that I'm sure it took to produce. That it just got canceled, and people want to make up a story, and like you said, the FCC ate it right up and played right into their stupid hand to allow them to have even a gripe.
Yeah, there's a Guardian article that I was looking at that I have pulled up here actually that calls FCC Chairman Brendan Carr's actions calculated, but
like some
I don't know
chess.
what No, I mean it is. I think that this could have been calculated potentially with or without the involvement of Brendan Carr by ABC, because Kimmel's show was not particularly noteworthy in terms of positive ratings. Whether it was doing poorly or not is irrelevant. It wasn't market leading.
Yeah.
And now it is. He said something that left the audience with the impression that something that was provably false was true, refused to apologize for it, got canceled, refused to apologize for it properly. I'm hearing mixed reviews on whether or not he actually did apologize in the end, and is now back on the air. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a marketing stunt.
Yeah, right. That's a great way to lay it out, and I totally would agree that was some good.
Yeah, and if it were a marketing stunt, it wouldn't look any different than that. With the possible exception that getting the FCC chair to play into your marketing stunt is pretty impressive. So either he's just that stupid, which based on the statement seems like is kind of the case, or
publicity stunt is what everybody used to call it.
Or there was a discussion with him and he had some reason to say something like that for personal benefit. We'll never know.
Don't credit
don't credit
evil what you can to don't credit to malice what you can to ignorance, or something like that. I keep trying to remember these quotes, but whatever. I get the idea.
Malice or stupidity. Malice or stupidity. Yep.
Stupidity.
And it can be more than one. That's my favorite impression. Is that Brendan Carr is not the most genuine guy, because the most genuine guy wouldn't go along with that, or wouldn't claim to be a free speech advocate in 2023 and then do this in 2025. Either way you cut it, this guy is not above board.
Right. And then what I didn't catch, and anything that I did hear of Jimmy, which I just saw a cut up part of that monologue that was cut up, so all the applause and all that crap was cut out. It would have been nice if he had then started saying that the FCC is bad, okay? Like, hey, what do we need them for? But
don't bite the hand that feeds you. And this is the other angle, is that even if you forget for a moment that ABC is part of the Disney empire, that is a quote from AI mimicking Tom Woods, but I'm using it because Disney empire is a hilarious way of framing it.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Even if you forget for a moment that Disney is the ultimate entity in control of the words that come out of Kimmel's mouth, ABC is granted licenses to do things that other entities can't do on airwaves that the government otherwise prohibits people from using. This is
What do
an
you mean
issue
by
with
that?
all the broadcast companies have a special relationship with the US government because the US government says no one is allowed to use these airwaves except for you, and you.
And there's certain power, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah,
and as conditions of this great privilege of doing things that are otherwise totally banned, we are going to impose these restrictions, these speech codes on you. And the corporations respond by giving themselves even stricter speech codes so they don't piss off the hand that's feeding them. Because by one way of viewing it is, oh, so these few actors aren't being infringed upon by the government, but the proper way of viewing it is that everyone is, but they're getting special treatment because their rules aren't, you can't do this, which is preventing anyone from competing with them in that space. Their rules are, you can do this, but... And that's a really big advantage to have in any market. And it's
man.
why ABC as a company still exists. The American Broadcasting Corporation exists today because the federal government granted it special license to continue to operate in the way it had been operating back decades ago. I
Yeah.
want the answer to
So
this question. So could you take over
yeah,
for a
yeah.
moment while
So
I look
well,
that
yeah.
up?
So now it makes me think of then they have locked down that market for those ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. I guess must have came in right. Fox was a latecomer when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Fox was a new, and it
Yeah,
probably
Fox is the
started in
most
a
recent
lower
addition.
power, and how you get in. I don't know if that was Murdoch or if he was just the Fox News part, or if he was part of that whole Fox network that when it started like that. And so, how do you become, trusted to have however many kilowatts that they operate under? Because that's what it is. Because I mean, you could have a local TV station, I'm sure, and just have that. I'm sure you still have to do FCC because with the public utilities that I do with the SCADA systems, where a lift station where your sewer water gravity feeds to this well in your neighborhood and then it gets pumped out. Well, your local utility department has eyes on that via radio waves. And one particular instance in Lake Elmo 15 years ago, we were having all kinds of problems with their communication. Well, it turned out Excel was using their two-way radios on the same frequency that Lake Elmo purchased from the FCC and said, you are allowed to operate on this frequency. Oh, but now Excel's data or Excel's voice overrides your data. So you have to buy a new frequency and get all new radios and all their equipment because the FCC said so. And so Lake Elmo had to spend the money and take money from their residents to do that just because the FCC. But anyways, I mean, just because Excel.
So there's not even really a first mover advantage, is what you're telling me.
Right.
It is a most influential in the moment advantage.
That's what it sure seems like. I mean, and that's what I was, getting at with where how Fox gets up into this ABC, NBC, CBS realm of these three networks that have controlled an Operation Mockingbird and all this stuff where they literally have our CIA as their news anchors and their affiliate partners and all that stuff. And so, boy, it's just such a good old boys network that
Yeah. So
I don't even know.
NBC and CBS got their licenses on May 1st, 1941, and July 1st. NBC, May 1st. Oh, no, the licenses were both issued on May 1st and broadcast began on July 1st. Okay, so 1941, the FCC was established in the 30s and began in 1934. And in May of 1941, they started issuing licenses. Now, ABC got theirs in 1943. So ABC has been given a limited monopoly status since 1943. And that limited monopoly comes with conditions of pleasing the hand that feeds them, aka the federal government.
Yeah.
And Fox got theirs on October 9th, 1986.
Okay, so it was the 80s.
Yep. Murdoch's News Corp bought a 50% stake in 20th Century Fox in 85. And then in 86, Fox was granted FCC license to broadcast
Granted
television.
License. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yes.
Yep. Well, and I guess that, you know, my question still is, I wonder what it takes. What, you know, if we had.
Well, what it takes is owning a 50% stake in a well-established film studio, and then also buying up a bunch of local affiliate TV stations, apparently, because that's what Murdoch did, and that's our most recent example. Or one could just start podcasting from their bedroom or their office or their
we'll see, and you have that reach. That's it. And so okay, here we go. Now let's talk about that, because that is something that was mentioned. It was mentioned by Kimmel, was you know, why aren't they taking over? Maybe it was mentioned by the person I was listening to, taking over the internet companies that control the podcast of catchers. Like, wait, interesting that he went with the internet companies and not like the Spotify or the Apple or the whoever, YouTube.
Well, I mean, there are two ways of approaching that. You can approach it from the layer of TV channels, which is like going after a Spotify or going after a YouTube, or you can approach it from the perspective of the cable companies, which is going after literal cable companies for the most part.
Yeah, well, I guess so. You know, technically in a free market enterprise, we have to understand, and I think we all do understand, there's consequences to your actions, whether they're your verbal actions or you show up with a swastika tattoo on your neck. You know, you're not going to be able to go to work, or, you know, I think even then it's kind of a freedom of speech, but then it's like, no, but it's my office, it's my property, that you're not allowed to be here if you're going to be looking like that. And it comes down to as innocent as earrings. You know, my office, my boss doesn't like us guys wearing earrings, and there's a couple guys in our crew that have earrings, and he's said something to these guys, and then those guys come to me and be like, oh, what the hell? It's like, I mean, it's his office, whatever, put him on when you freaking leave, and he's never going to know, and nobody's ever going to care. I don't know. And so when you're going to be talking smack or something in somebody's office or in any business place, there's consequences to that. But ultimately, the First Amendment talks about the government not imposing any, you know, punishment on you. And that's bottom line. I think that's what it seems like. It's fine. It goes right back to what we were talking about. Yeah. Are those things part of the government, those entities?
Yeah. And the other angle is the reason Kimmel lost his show, temporarily or otherwise, is it because of thuggish statements made by a government official, or is it because local affiliates refuse to rebroadcast his lies, for lack of a better term?
You know, going back to just what we said a few minutes ago, why the hell is this even making news? The ratings for alternative media and you know, podcasts are way higher than any of those TV shows.
It's because the corporate channels of control want you to focus on the legitimacy of the corporate channels of control, sir. They want to talk about how important it is to be allowed the privilege of being on their programs.
This was all a hoax. Like the whole damn thing was a damn publicity stunt.
He
The
would
whole way.
have had better ratings if he had gone on a
We're talking.
podcast the next night instead of going on. Well, that's not necessarily the case because of the unnecessary attention that people add to this sort of thing.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The Barbara Streisand effect came on, and he even mentioned that they, hey, well, this backfired bigly, is what he said, because now all of a sudden he's got the ratings for the couple days, but it's going to be fun to see that. Oh, it's spike, and then
Yeah,
right,
the
back
short,
to work,
the
back to whatever the
rather
hell I was
short,
doing.
long tail, as most people
Yeah.
stop giving an F within a week. Yeah.
Oh man, that's going to be hilarious, but not whatever. I mean, it's weird how that guy and his relationship with Adam Carolla and their whole man show history and all that stuff, and um it has always made me feel like it's a shtick. He's just totally acting, in all his things. In that monologue, I mean, he pulled out a couple of fake cries, man, real stringy, like I don't know. It's hard.
I
It's
haven't
a
seen
legend.
it.
Hard. It's hard to say somebody's fake crying because, dude, I freaking get emotional. You probably seen me. I know you have, because it's hard for me to talk in public, publicly. There's two people on this thing right now.
Yeah.
But
We're just
as far
talking
as
privately with an audience.
well, it's actually when it's something I am passionate about, and so when I start talking about war, or if I start talking about my kids or my job that I've been married to for 20 years now, I do get emotional about those things, but otherwise it's not really that big a deal. But um so it's hard for me to really accuse somebody of faking, but the dude is an actor, and I've always thought he's an actor. Like, that's the thing, is when Kimmel Live show started, I don't think it was very political. I guess I don't know how long he's been, talking this smack. And when this divide really started happening in 2012 and 2014 and stuff, I guess that's when I started seeing clips.
Yeah, I have no way of knowing if that's when it really started or not. That's when I started to notice it, but I was in the middle of high school at that point in time. That's when I would start to notice something like that. So maybe it happened earlier and I just didn't notice it.
You mean like this political divide where we're really getting
Yeah,
polarized?
like I've heard it blamed on the rise of social media during Obama's re-election campaign.
Yeah.
Coincidental in time, if not in intent, but I don't know if that's actually fair or not. I've seen plenty of data to suggest that it is, but I've also seen plenty of people say that data is cherry-picked, and I don't know whether that's true or not. I would say that I didn't see it happen before around 2012 or 2013.
Yeah,
But
I don't
again,
think
I
so
wasn't
either.
looking. I was very politically uninitiated until around 2011 or 2012.
I was quite a right winger, man. And it,
I
I
was
heard today
default
that
liberal.
a neocon is a specific term for someone who was a lefty that became some kind of conservative. So that, I guess that wasn't me, but I was like full, let's go to war and let's
Mhm.
kill those people over there. Like, that's how I felt. So around that time, so I was already pretty far right. That's what I'm trying to say, is that
Yeah.
I was already
Whereas
divided, trying to go with Jason Lewis on tax day to the Capitol, and I thought, man, that guy disappointed me. I'll tell you what. But anyways,
Whereas I started on the left and then went even further left and then wrapped around to far right and then have drifted. Well, I've been on a leftward journey this entire time. I've just been getting more and more individualist the whole time.
flat earther, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and that's what I really love about our group too, is I don't even know sometimes anymore, where someone started out as, because it doesn't really matter, because we know all the truth now, and it's not even in the middle, right? But I can't believe that people fall for some of this stuff, man. That the other night on our call, that the young man that's going to the U and talking about how so many folks are just down some rabbit hole or down some belief. And
I think Malice's terminology is you're supposed to have one red pill, not the whole bottle.
yeah, well, that's where, maybe we should go set up shop, just go toss some red pill. That's what, I guess that's what we do all our life, right? Throughout the day, whenever things come up.
I had
So,
somebody at the
yeah.
gas station compliment me on this shirt.
Yeah, I actually was going to compliment you on the shirt. I subscribe to PRL, man.
I actually don't. I bought this shirt at the 22 Reno convention just because I guess they were almost out of them, and they were just holding them up and saying, "Who wants $120?" And I was like, "F it, sure, come on, come over here." I spent the entire time in Reno without gambling a single penny, so buying a $20 T-shirt was a pretty good deal.
Man,
Yeah.
right on.
Unfortunately, it means I paid full price for my drinks because I wasn't gaming while I was there.
I guess when I say I subscribe, their podcast comes through my Apple podcast feed, and I listen to it whenever I can. But I met them in DC when February 22, when Chip and I and Carrie went out there for Rage Against the War Machine. They were out there doing some freedom of speech, and all kinds of interesting characters out there talking about freedom of speech, man, and all the, what you take a clip and take shit out of context, like the commie flag, or I don't know what flag it was.
Probably a Russian
flag flying behind Angela when she was trying to talk, and it's people taking these things, and it's like, okay,
the world does not exist in 6-second sound bites.
Yeah. It's so huge. And man, I'll tell you what, my mom, a few minutes I could spend with my mom, and she starts saying some things. I'm like, whoa, do I got to put some kind of filter on your phone? Because you are really starting to go, your algorithms are on fire right now. I tell you what,
yep.
She is being fed some bullshit. And man, there's some bullshit being sped out there. And again, okay, we're in the free market of ideas, and let it rip, man. Let's expose the idiots.
Well, I wish it were a free market. That's the issue, is that it's not.
Exactly.
Because there is a cartel of government and corporate entities that are conspiring to make people believe something based on its convenience for them, without any relationship to whether or not it is true.
Dude,
if they, I've told my grandmother this many times, if the corporate news are telling you something and that something happens to be correct, it's out of coincidence, not intent.
Yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect. And I get all kinds of looks from my wife, because I'm skeptical of everything, and it's turned into, being Mr. Negative Nelly about certain things. Like, okay, yeah, allegedly this, I don't know for sure, and I can't say whatever. And that shit, that Tylenol thing that just dropped the other day, or yesterday, the day before. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about it firsthand, but secondhand, I heard a few things. I'll talk about this in terms of memes, because I think that's the more entertaining, enjoyable way of talking about it. I saw a meme that went, if the United States, if Tylenol actually caused autism, and it's just a picture of a 220 mile per hour high-speed rail system across the entire U.S. And I think that's great. But from the libertarian perspective, the United States, if Tylenol actually caused autism, and every state would be yellow or purple instead of red or blue.
Yeah. Yep. That's I mean, the whole thing, the word cause, right, and causal relationship and things like that. And I don't know if I even heard any of that. Like, there's greater risk, that's the one that's the big one
Yeah,
in studies.
that's the way that the government agencies always phrase such things, because you can say it in such a way that it connotes no legal responsibility upon the entity making the statement.
Yeah,
The same way that, by my understanding at least, Kimmel didn't say anything that was factually incorrect. He just left his audience with a factually incorrect impression of events.
I've seen a meme. I guess it's not a meme. Maybe it's a screenshot, but I think it's a fucking meme. I don't think it's actually a screenshot of.
It doesn't have to be fake in order to be a meme.
Right. like Tylenol saying we've never recommended pregnant women take Tylenol. Like it's coming right from them. And if they're saying they've never recommended it, then where does that lead everything? And then it's like, is that just a meme? Is that somebody making crap up? So it just really, it's so hard to believe anything nowadays, because the hell if, okay, I have a little more faith in Dr. Bhattacharya and things like that. And I think RFK actually has been okay with
You want to hear the answer to the has Tylenol ever, as the Tylenol brand name, ever recommended its product to pregnant women?
Yeah. Is it a meme?
Tylenol doesn't recommend its products directly to patients. Tylenol advises doctors to recommend its medication to patients.
So they can say we've never recommended whatever.
And it's factually correct without
being.
Yeah,
there you go. It's like the third time now we're onto that friggin' stage.
Yes, it is almost as if this is how our society is run, not by people saying things based on their belief in the statement's truth, but by corporations and governments saying things based on their ability to get away with saying them.
Good gravy. That was a good clip right there. Yeah, man. Well, at least we're still able to do this. Well, so going back to selective censorship or whatever, right? Where folks got all up in arms because Kimmel got indefinitely canceled and then came back, whatever. Man, you and I both know how many of the folks that we like to listen to during 2020 and 2021 and 2022, even into 2023, shadow banned and literally demonetized for saying one or two words.
Yep.
Or just right out flat canceled and dropped.
There were content creators that I was watching who no longer exist as an online entity because of what happened to them during 2022.
Yep. And they are still struggling. Like I mean, the Good Morning Liberty guys are my favorite guys. They do everyday show, and they and Nate actually is in the Decentralized podcast, goes on with Austin on the Mises Caucus show. I don't know if you ever seen that, but
maybe once or twice, but not regularly.
They've been doing a little bit more regular show, maybe once a week or so, and having a few guys on. But I know Dave and Goliath and Dan Smots, The System Is Down. They took so many hits, man. All those shows, Clint Russell, Dave, and Robbie, those guys were speaking a lot of truth, and really just to whoever subscribed or whoever looked for their show, because it was never pushing out on the algorithms, and so they are hardly getting discovered. But they still were growing even with that shit. So that's the power of the truth, I really think. When you speak that stuff, and enough people, man, I really do. Even though that for all the red pills I swallow, man, those black pills are still forcing them. It's like, God, these people are so dumb.
You said the power of truth. I hope truth matters. I think it's the power of humans sensing authenticity from other humans. Because that's something you get from podcasts that it's really, really hard to imitate in a studio. I don't think that anything I see on broadcast television is authentic unless certain criteria are met. And I can't quantify those criteria. It's a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Whereas if I see a podcast, even if the guy has an at-home studio and it looks relatively professional, I'm going to assume that he believes what he's saying unless certain criteria are met. It's a reversal of assumptions.
It's a great idea there. Great policy to think that way, and I totally agree. I would
Again,
absolutely.
truth doesn't play into that sort of a thing because it's about whether you subjectively believe the other person subjectively believes it. Doesn't really matter whether either person's right.
Damn, I totally like all the
I mean, I kind of wish I were
spots.
wrong. I wish the truth mattered. I want truth to matter. I think truth should matter. I think we should work to make truth matter. I don't think it's there yet.
Well, okay, so when you think, well, you've heard of that experiment where you got 7 people sitting in a waiting room that are all actors, and you one person comes in that's not, and then the bell rings, and 7 people stand up. The one person's like, "What the hell?" So they stand up too, and then all of a sudden there's 6 people, and then another unbeknownst person, and eventually it's full of people that were never actors, and the bell rings and everybody's standing up, right? And then you can talk
Yeah.
about the monkeys and the fire hose and all the different ones that's
I like
this
the scene
condition.
from the first Men in Black. I like the
Which
scene
one?
from the first Men in Black where they're all of the candidates, including the main character, are taking the written test, and they're provided sharp, pointy pencils and flimsy paper and no table. And the main character has the audacity to go grab a table that looks decorative and drag it halfway across the room so that he can use it to support his paper while he takes the test. And all of the military best of the best, sir, look at him like he is the idiot.
Yeah.
When the test is, are you willing to take the steps that seem ridiculous in order to make a situation work for you?
Okay. Well, so here we go. These are two different people, right? We weed out that one person, and so the more truth, the more people, eventually people can't just be looking at something and be like, this is black when they know it's white. You know what I mean? Eventually this kind of truth, right? Following along on a group mentality, that's the one thing. But literally seeing this and knowing that I'm looking at this and it is what it is, even though all these people are saying this, eventually that kind of it breaks that mold of the group think. I think, but you gotta have enough of those people like you and me and like everybody in our group, man, because we've already broke loose of that crap, right? We've already taken that one step to say, oh hell no, you're not gonna pull another one over on me like that. So uh or some of us have realized it from day one. I don't know, but most of us haven't, right?
I needed to figure out who I was before I could figure out who I should listen to, and
Yeah,
I'm honestly still working on both of those. I'm pretty
sure.
sure I know who I am by now, and I'm pretty sure I know who I don't want to listen to. And by process of elimination, I'm listening to the other people.
Yeah. Well, and Dave talks about it a lot, and the GML guys, they got a track record. They've been doing it for this many years now, and you try and pick one episode anywhere and find where they were factually incorrect or not saying something that they believed was correct, and even saying I don't know for sure, or, you know what I mean? But uh, it's it's powerful. But damn, propaganda is so powerful. Oh my gosh, yeah. So talk. Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, I think his name is, man.
Yeah, I've seen some of his
When
videos.
when I was on the right wing, man, I was all true blue or back to blue kind of stuff. He was the person I like to talk and listen to, and he was on with Piers and Dave Smith last night, or I guess I caught it this morning. It was like you're listening to a 2005 Zionist, like I guess maybe it really was just a few years ago when they always all their talking points were they use the churches as the military points, and they do this, and they're the ones hoarding
Yeah,
all the blockade.
they hide stuff. They hide
Yeah,
military supplies under schools and hospitals, and that's why we have to nuke them from orbit.
so this is the thing. That's totally the talking point,
I
right?
remember those talking points.
Yeah, and I
And when
was
I was
repeating that
disappointed
shit
in
too.
Obama about how he was handling the Middle East.
Oh man,
Now we've
and
progressed so far from Obama. We're disappointed in the next guy, and then the next guy after that, and then now the guy from before who's now back again.
what's one of
Disappointed in
those
so
things?
many presidents about the Middle East.
But I guess what I'm saying is that those talking points were something that we couldn't actually. Hey, you're saying this, and I'm seeing this. You're saying this, and I can't see shit, so I don't know, right? But now internet's here, and they're real journalists that do the real work, so that truth is coming out, and so people are realizing, and especially the young kids, and thankfully, that's who Charlie was talking to, and all these people were saying are not believing those dumb talking points, and they're looking at these things and saying, "You can't tell me that this is black when I'm looking at it; it's freaking white."
It turns out that when you have on the ground footage from every single location of a missile strike, not every single one of those instances of quote unquote collateral damage was targeting a legitimate military or paramilitary operation. Funny how that works when you've got a fire first mentality.
Yeah. Well, and that was part of what Tatum would start talking into is, oh, we don't have to give them this. We won a war. They don't have to give them this. They won a war. It's like, yeah, okay. Are you human or
start
not?
acting like
yeah.
Start acting like the people who won the war instead of acting like a petulant child.
Backwards. It was unreal. Look at what we did for the Indians. We gave them this land. It's like, dude, are you proud of this shit? Like, oh my god! And guess what? Those Native Americans also have voting rights and other freedom of movement throughout this country, and all kinds of other freaking privileges that Palestinians are not having in their little strip of Gaza. So, but anyways, here we go. Talk about the freedom of speech. And this is the great thing I'd like about Pierce is he has all these people on, and you can see how Pierce has changed his mind by having all these people on.
Oh yeah, I remember in the late 2010s, I was really annoyed with Piers Morgan.
Yes,
because it seemed like he was an anti-populist curmudgeon, and now it seems like he's somebody who wants there to be authenticity in corporate media. I don't think he's realized it's impossible yet, but he wants it to be there, so he's trying. So I'll give him props for that.
Yeah. Ultimately, I am happy with the abilities of some folks that are really waking up and have popularity, telling the truth, like Tucker, and say, he's also dropping a 9/11 series that the first episode just came out. Tucker is. Yeah, Mr.
I don't know, man. I think it's too soon. The people it happened to are still alive.
Well, that's we'll see how he pans out through all that, but
of course the other angle is it wasn't soon enough because there are people who can vote who were born after 9/11.
Yes.
They don't know what the world was like. I don't know what the world was like before 9/11 because I was in elementary school when it happened. The first time I remember being on a plane was after 9/11. So I don't remember what the world was like before Homeland Security and the TSA and the Patriot Act. That world is hypothetical to me.
I flew home the Labor Day weekend right before that. My very first flight home after boot camp was that weekend, and I went to the wrong airport in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and went to this little private airport and almost got on a little Cessna plane to go to Memphis where I was going to make a connection. This dude almost offered me to, and that's how easy it was.
You didn't need a security guard to check your papers against your driver's license in order to get on the plane.
And then made it to the right airport, which was attached to Eglin Air Force Base,
and still had time to actually make your flight instead of having to go through a 20+ minute security line if it's a light day. Yeah. My standard policy is arrive at the airport 2 to 2.5 hours before you plan to board the plane. The reason I have that policy is because I would rather sit alone in a chair staring at my phone for an hour and 45 minutes than I would run from
stress,
the from the TSA gate to the gate my plane is leaving from.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I travel quite a bit, or I have in, the last 20 years. And my, my thing is 2 hours from departure is when I depart my house.
Yeah.
And I'm about a 20-minute drive to the airport. Then I park at a park and fly. But all that works. But I also, so, I mean, we're tangenting on, but this is funny how TSA, they got pre-check, right? You've heard of pre-check before. And then they came up with a thing maybe 8 or 9 years ago called Clear, that is like some third party.
Yeah.
I do this because we all know it's all,
it's
get into that shit unless you're
it's yet another entity that exists because the government wanted somebody to do that job that wasn't a government entity.
Yeah. And you had enough business travelers that were like, yo, what the hell? I don't want to, I got too much money. And so Delta, because I'm Diamond, pays for my Clear. So then I get that free up too. Plus Amex, my corporate card, pays for my global entry so that I get the pre-check. So then
you've got Clear and pre-check, so you can use the shortest line every time you see it.
On a busy night, on a busy morning, some Monday mornings at MSP, because you got checkpoints on either end. Those lines sometimes have overlapped, and I just walk right past everybody and have a good day. But those are my government privileges when it comes to TSA. And, sometimes, all the time, I look at all that shit, man. Every one of those entryways are always under construction. They are constantly changing. So that tells me that there's, I know how government contracts work, and I know how that kind of shit works, that there's constantly a necessity for upgrade.
Yeah. Every time they're finished working on one, they switch to working on the other one. So they're constantly, one of them is constantly under limited capacity.
It's kind of like the McDonald's ice cream machine. That's how there's a big conspiracy about the maintenance of that thing.
The version that I've heard is that there is one company that owns the rights to service those machines.
Yeah.
And that company has no interest in being efficient because they have a monopoly on servicing ice cream machines at one of the largest fast food chains in the country. Why on earth would you go out of your way to improve on that? There's no up to go.
Did you read this comment that just came up?
No, let me see.
So good evening to Sarah and TC, if you guys are still watching. But someone says, seems like the multi-trillion-dollar loss and generational disaffection were worse than the TSA, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, we're focusing on the TSA because it's the most visible element, but we should move on from talking about the airport and let's talk about the government spying apparatus that was implemented by the Patriot Act. I used to work in the banking sector, and the Patriot Act is literally the reason for some of the paperwork that I had to review. So in a way, the Patriot Act gave me a job, or to phrase it differently, the Patriot Act cost customers of banks in the United States hundreds of millions of dollars because they hired dozens of me to do my job, and they could have laid off maybe 10 to 20% of them, and this was at one location for one bank.
Yeah, well, and imagine that exactly that you said, one location for one bank. Imagine all the rest
locations, that's the other banks.
And that's just one niche of what you're talking about, what's applicable to your knowledge of how it affects.
Yeah, and this is the part of the Patriot Act that made banks spy on their customers for the government, as well as all the other regulations that also make banks spy on their customers for the government. But there were other elements of the Patriot Act, things like enhanced ability for government agencies like the newly created Homeland Security to spy on people through FISA, or FBI became a very prominent user of FISA.
Yeah. You have a lot of great knowledge on that stuff when it comes to the banking, man. And all I know is the money is worth crap. Is worth less and less every day. So it's beyond worth zero, in my opinion. I can't believe that we're still buying stuff with our dollar. But
Yeah. Well, that plays into generational disaffection, which was also in that Twitch comment. And I've got to give props for that, because that is the exact right way to phrase it. Because generations, plural, ago, people used to think that the government tried to be trustworthy. I don't think you could find a person on the street today who thinks that the government is even making an effort to appear trustworthy. Our government is not trustworthy, never has been, and now doesn't care to appear so. That is a good thing, except for the fact that people don't care. So many people know that the government is lying to them, and also know that they can't do anything about it, so they don't try.
oh man, it is what it is.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I hate it when I used to say that all the time too, but yeah. Okay,
There
so
is something you can do about it. We're
yeah.
doing something about it. We're not doing something about the federal government here in the state of Minnesota. We are doing something about the state government. We work with legislators on both sides of the uniparty in our state legislature to try to get bills passed that protect or restore freedoms, or that protect or restore the ability to prevent our troops from being sent overseas for meaningless foreign wars that just get people killed.
Yeah, man, and that is huge. That's the big part of what we've been getting to work on is um, getting some legislation going for defend the guard. We have a couple. We have a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate when these sessions fire back up come January, and I absolutely plan to spend a lot more time than I did last year because it seemed very effective. And I know Ryan did, and you did a lot of the legwork as well, setting up appointments and things like that. But the three of us just showing up and standing around in that rotunda and that or the swamp floor, the floor above the rotunda is the swampy floor, but it really does make a difference. The Libertarian Party of Tennessee chair Josiah was talking about that the other day too. How he just showed up, man, put on a jacket, and just cut your hair. Not all of us are that presentable, so that's what he was saying. Talking about like that. But it's like, yeah, I think I did get a few more people to at least recognize me because you put a suit on, they'll do that, and it's not fun. I'll tell you that. I hate wearing that shit. But then I might actually have some fun with it this year. I'm gonna look into getting some kind of funny shit that might stand out. That also gets your attention. Fucking look at Trump. Goddamn, stand out and whatever.
Don't get a spray tan.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean the orange hair? That's what I need to.
Oh yeah, actually yes. Put diet bleach blonde a skunk and staple it to your head. That'll work. But no. Before we wrap things up, I just want to thank our Twitch commenter again, because yes, the disenchantment of the average person with our government creates an opportunity for people to want to oppose our society. And I want to oppose our government. I don't want to oppose our society. And that's something that's been really important to me, is to try to make clear to my friends that I like the United States, but I hate the US government. And I have trouble with people in my own family sometimes understanding that. They say, well, where else are you going to go? It's like, no, there is nowhere else to go.
That's why we're fighting here.
This is the most free country we have. It's just really sorry to see it in such a state.
Absolutely. Well said, Joey. Absolutely, man. Yeah. And if you want to join or want to become a member, go to lpmn.org, and there's plenty of affiliate meetings every month in your area.
Add more basically every week as I hear them.
Yeah. So come in, just hop in, hang out at a meeting for a night. You don't have to join. Just come take a look
Yeah.
and see the weirdos and the autists and everybody all getting along. Where it's all
Yeah.
one big happy family of smiles and beers, and
Come complain about the government with us. You'll enjoy it.
that's definitely what you're gonna find is some complainergy about the government, right? But
Yep.
it is again
But we're
like
part of
Joey
an
said,
organization that's actually trying to do something about it.
we love
There's not
America.
one but 2 local petition efforts this year to demonstrate that fact.
Yeah, buddy.
And we
All
want to
right.
have more next year and get our petitions going for candidates on the ballot next year as well.
We'll get her done. That'll be in the spring, and that'll be after. Hopefully, we have some good news about Defend the Guard. Right? We'll have.
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be great.
It would be a big motivator, and that could motivate a lot of other folks if we get some recognition on that. Man, oh, USA is dead to me. Oh no.
Everyone's got their own opinion on what is worth trying to save and what is not. I think that my community is worth trying to save, and that requires me to try to save the things that allow my community to exist. That doesn't mean that I love the US federal government. That means that I think that destroying the US federal government right now is not in my best interest.
I love your attitude, Joey. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt, man. All right. Well, everybody have a great night. And I appreciate you, Joey, for hopping on. And stay classy, my friends.